Okay, so this video is going to be a little bit different than what I've been doing before. I'm actually going to show you a bunch of different monitor setups on what they would be like in the real world. Just going to give you a bunch of different comparisons and give you little pros and cons of each one. For this video, I'm going to assume a couple things. A, that you're running Windows 7 or Windows 8, and B, that you are trying to run games in SLS mode. SLS mode is by which any means that you take a bunch of monitors and make the computer think it's one. You can tell which of these setups are supported on the different vendors by looking at the bottom of the video where there will be icons placed. As I go through the different setups, I'll tell you the pros and the cons of each setup. The single monitor setup. There's a lot of pros to this setup. It's pretty much 99.9% compatible with any games. It's easy to run, you don't need a lot of GPU power, and there's not that many disadvantages. Say you want to play a game in split screen, I know it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it will. You're gonna have to split up the only screen you have. On top of that, one screen isn't that immersive. If you have a stand that allows you to do so, you can go into portrait mode. This is actually very good for playing games in vert minus because the games will be extended up and down. This, however, is not very good for playing games that are horizontal plus because then you'll see less of the world. Running 3 monitors in landscape is your standard multi-monitor gaming setup. It's very easy to set up since it's a standard, and it's compatible with all horizontal plus games. The extra monitors on the side allow for a very high amount of immersion because your field of view will be extended as long as you're playing a horizontal plus game. It'll also take up your field of vision in real life very well. Having 3 monitors in landscape is good for split screen as well because you can actually take 2 of them and be able to split it down the middle or split it up and down virtually and be able to share the experience with someone else sitting beside you. But there are disadvantages. If you're playing a game in vert minus, you're going to miss a third of your screen. On top of that, having 3 monitors requires more GPU power. And on top of that, objects at the edge of the screen will appear to be much larger than they actually are. Another disadvantage is the fact that you now have to contend with bezels if you want to look at the whole screen at once. Now you can go ahead and throw those 3 monitors in portrait. Now you're back to being compatible with 99% of the games that are available because your monitors are now in an aspect ratio that's close to 16:9 or 16:10. Games will look a lot crisper because you're running in a higher resolution. Also, the bigger screen allows for a more immersive feel as well. But still, that brings disadvantages because the bezels are now much closer together, so it makes them much more apparent. Also, because you're running more than one monitor, it's going to tax your GPU more than just running in one, and not necessarily give you any more field of view than you had before. You can get a little crazy with portrait monitors. If you go get 5 monitors in portrait, you get a much higher field of vision than you do with one monitor. Plus, your real life field of vision will be taken up by a giant wall of monitors. You'll have your own video wall. And since you're running a much higher resolution, everything will be much more crisper. But you still have the drawbacks of all those bezels in the way. Plus, again, it'll take more GPU power since you're running more monitors. There's another popular monitor configuration that is actually very similar in field of view to a 5x1 portrait, but it has much less bezels. If you take a 30-inch 16:10 monitor and then put 2 20-inch 4x3 monitors on the side, it'll line up perfectly if you put the 4x3 monitors in the portrait mode. This is what a lot of people call a PLP, or Portrait Landscape Portrait setup. The only vendor that will support the setup is SoftTH. Or you could run it in windowed mode, but either way, both solutions won't really allow you to run many games, because SoftTH is only compatible with DirectX 9 games. It's a very slick setup though. I've tried it out myself, and I decided instead of keeping the 130 inch and the 220s, I went full scale and got the 230 inchers on the side. That's just because it's much more compatible with the other vendors, and I didn't want to worry about a software solution as SoftTH. I'd also like to talk about gaming setups with even numbered monitors. So far I've only showed you ones with odd, 1, 3, and 5. But you can actually game on a 2-monitor setup, 2 and 4 monitors, and even 6. 2 and 4 monitors are good for split screen, but there's actually a problem with having 3 players, because no matter what, it seems like you're going to have a bezel in the way for the third player or the first player, depending on how the screen splits it up. Gaming on a 6-monitor setup is terrible. Like, there's a horizontal bezel in the middle of the screen. I can't think of any way, any way that would be good. I believe there was one game that actually took advantage of iFinity's APIs and actually moved the crosshair from being in the center between 2 horizontal ones to be slightly below. But that was only one game, and I can't even remember what it was. I hope this summarization of monitor setups has been useful to you. If you have any further questions, you could go to the Widescreen Gaming Forum. This has been Sukin to Mew, and don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe.